Again. Good afternoon. I am Patty Collins. I am one of your consultants here at the Central Kansas Library System. And today we are going to do a part 2 of the CKLS virtual open house. As I said in the email I sent a little bit ago, maybe next year I can do this in person and there'll be cookies. But it's a little hard to get everybody out of their libraries right now. It's summer library time. Before we get to our program today, I'm going to ask the librarians to introduce themselves and the library they represent because there's some new faces in our room today. So I think I'm going to start with you, Tracy.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tracy Andrews, and I am in Ellis at the Ellis Public Library, and I have been here since less than a year, just November of 24. So yeah.
Welcome. Maria.
I'm Maria Meyer, and I'm at the Canopolis Public Library, and I actually just started my 4th week today.
Thank you. So glad you're here. Sherry, can you tell us where you're from?
Sherry Knopf, Downs Carnegie Library in Downs, Kansas.
And how long have you been there, Sherry?
More years than we want to count. 2008, 2007. So I'm part of the library, just a fixture.
Brittany.
Hello, I'm Brittany with Long Island Community Library. I think I'm on my 10th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Carrie.
Hello, I'm Carrie Thornton, and I'm with the Osborne Public Library, and I've been here a little over 3 months.
Amy.
Hi, I'm at Otis Community Library in small Otis, Kansas, which is like 15, 20 minutes away from Great Bend. I've been here, I think, almost 8 years.
Wow. Time's going by. Erica.
It is.
Will you take this call? It's from my sister. Amy Hammocky.
Hi, I'm from Ellenwood. I've been here 10 years.
And Cassandra.
Hey, I'm Cassandra Rowland. I'm at the Bennington Public School, and this was my first year.
Welcome. And Erica, are you having any luck?
Nope, it still won't let her unmute.
I can talk for her. Erica Barnes is the library director at the Kensington School Community Library. Like Ellenwood, it is a combined library, and Erica has been there at least 15 years. August 2010. Haha. Hopefully I did her justice. She's a very kind and sweet woman. She just can't talk today, though.
Okay. We're going to get started on our virtual open house. We will start with...
You have one more. Just snuck in.
Oh, Danielle.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
Where are you from, Miss Danielle?
Well, I'm from Palco. Okay, I work in Palco. I actually live in Codell. How about that?
That was rather uncommittal, but what's Codell famous for, Danielle?
So on May 20th in 1916, 1917, and 1918, a tornado hit the town. Same date, three years in a row. and pretty much wiped it out. That's why there's only 36 of us now.
But at least you got through May of 2025. So that's good.
Yes, we did. Yes. We haven't had a tornado hit since that last one in 1918. So that's something. And it's in the Guinness Book of World Records too.
Woohoo! Statue. And Diane says, and there's a cool statue.
There is a really cool statue.
There's a neat sculpture, so you got to go see it. Okay, so to begin our virtual open house, we're going to start with outreach services. Our Mallory is out on the road visiting libraries today, and if I have it figured correctly, she is somewhere. She is in Gaylord, Kerwin, Lebanon, Osborne, and Smith Center. So, Miss Joy, I have some questions for you. Joy, what's your job?
Okay. My title is Outreach Manager. And so, along with Mallory, I manage the rotating book collection. We get that schedule put together. We do the holds for that area. And just any place else that we can help out, we both do.
Excellent. So I have a couple of questions. What happens if CKLS is closed due to bad weather?
If it happens to be on your rotating day, that information will be on the website, and we will send out an email to all of our libraries, and also we will try to contact you by phone as well. That was why I'd ask Maria for her phone number. I've got this 3-ring binder that I try to keep updated. So sometimes if you don't see your email, I try to contact you in person.
Do you want also the school number just in case you can't reach me on my cell phone number?
That would be great. And okay. I don't share any of that information. I just keep that in my notebook.
Okay, I will have to look up the grade school
okay.
number, and I'll send that to you also.
That sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Joy, I see that on the list, there's 5 or 6 libraries for each route. What happens if my library is closed while it's time for me to rotate?
That is okay. We request keys for all of the libraries so that Mallory can go in and deliver books, even if your library happens to be closed. Those keys are kept here at CKLS. We have a locked key box that those are in.
So, how do libraries determine what they need, and how do you get that information from?
Okay, I'm just going to try to hold this up. This is our profile, and I believe this will be an attachment along with this Zoom. But the profile, we have adult books. The genres that we have on this profile are sci-fi, fantasy, romance, inspirational, mysteries, westerns, and then fiction is combined together with fiction and nonfiction. For children's, we have juvenile, and that it encompasses fiction and J nonfic, picture books and easy readers or leveled readers, young adult books, and for media, we have audiobooks and videos. Generally, we only send 20 of the videos on a rotation, usually 10 for audiobooks. But if you have a lot of patrons that check audiobooks out, just let me know and we would be glad to change that if need be. On this profile, you can differentiate if you want a different amount of books for summer, like May through August, or if you just want the same number of books year round. We have a place where you can let us know if, like, you would like graphic novels or large print. We do subscribe to several large print standing orders, but that makes it a lot of our patrons want those, so we can't just do all large print, but we do our best to accommodate what your patrons need. And I know sometimes things change and you have to make a change to your profile. That's not a problem. Feel free to reach out to myself, email or phone, or Mallory Bott, and we can certainly make a change to your profile. We do like to have books packed up a couple of weeks in advance, so just a couple of days before your rotation, it probably would take effect on the next one.
Thank you. So, CKLS really isn't really proud of this, but we, just like many of your libraries, have once or twice been hit with bed bugs. What is the level of safety of materials leaving the building, and what do we do to try to mitigate that problem?
We have a large, it's called a bug zap room. It's probably big enough that you could put a VW Beetle inside of there. But whenever our books come back off of the van, those go directly into the bug room, and we run that anywhere from 4 to 8 hours.
So you do have a level of security with those items. We don't want bugs to come into CKLS, and we certainly don't want them to be sent to you. So
exactly.
Do know that we're trying to solve that problem.
Yes.
And then you mentioned that we can change the profile as needed. Is it okay if, say, right now we have a nice size collection of sci-fi fantasy that our people are going through, so I can say, I don't want you to send me that at this time?
Of course.
So
we try to accommodate any needs that you have, because we know that your patrons change.
And then I know sometimes stuff is sent out, like paperwork occasionally, or signage, or things that are sent out with rotating materials. I believe we received a lot of rotating book signs back to us. So
usually if we send something out, and especially if it's something laminated, that's something that we feel is important and would be something that would be good to hang up in your library. I am going to brag on Ashley a little bit. Before she went into her new position, she did a lot of work. She put this form together that has each group that's together on a rotation and has just your dates on there. So that's something really important to hang up. And then also we have this, I don't know if it was sent out, but I could certainly send that to you. We have 10 separate rotations per cycle, and she just gave them all a group A, B, C, D, put each one of the stops that were on there and the dates. So those are really handy. I know we also have a calendar, but when you can just look at your 6 dates, that seems to make it just a bit easier. One other thing that we have sent out, and I believe it just says Central Kansas Library System rotating books. I know some of our libraries put all of the rotating books together. Some separate them out within their collection. One thing we've heard in the past is, well, we got a book that we already had. Well, sometimes if all of the rotating books are together, a patron may come in and think, oh, these look new and shiny, and they could check a book out off of there that you may have had, but it could look different. So that's why we send that one out. And then finally, this one's really important. It's called Procedures for Receiving Rotating Books. And I know most people know just exactly what to do, but we have made some changes, not recently, it's been in effect for a while, but we did put a lost status. So when we pack up rotating books, we mark those as boxed for RB. That way, if somebody's looking on the system for a book that they want to maybe put on hold, before we had that lost status, it would show available. And we don't want people to think, well, this book's available. Are they just not going to send it to me? So we put that lost status on there. So it's really important if you are a Pathfinder library, when you receive your rotating books, just quickly check those in individually, and that will remove the lost status. And when you, one thing I will mention, it could come up with a message that says, please return this to Central Kansas Library System, and you can just ignore that. By checking those in, you're just removing that lost status.
And so my last question, what do they do when it's time for them to return materials?
Maybe the day before or a couple of days before, the last day you're in your library before your rotation. All you need to do is pack those books back into all of the totes that they were shipped to you in. You don't need to check those in. When they come back to CKLS, we run them through the bug zapper, and then those get checked in and reshelved or used to go out on future rotations.
Thank you, Joy. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about what you and Mallory do in outreach? Oh, Gail has a question.
It's really hard for me not to ask questions. Joy, how much money a year do you spend on rotating books?
55,000 is what my budget has been. And we try, large print is what we really try to get because we have so many patrons that like that. I know, just as a side note, that's what I like to read, so I don't have to wear my readers. But every order that I put in, I order for every genre that we rotate. We have not put, I have not ordered as much with the audiobooks and movies, just because I think streaming is kind of changing how that goes. But I do realize that we still have patrons that use the DVDs and the audios.
Gail, do you have any more questions?
Thank you, Joy. You can't know how difficult this is.
You'll get your opportunity to talk in a second, Gail.
I will say, on our profiles, since you just picked genres, if you have a patron that has a specific book that they want, if you put that on hold for them or have that put on hold for them, we do check that daily and send books out.
Thank you, Miss Joy. And you can reach Joy here at CKLS or through email. And you will all see Mallory as she's out visiting your library. Now we're going to move to youth services. I'm going to take off my presenter hat a little bit because I'm just going to have a conversation with Diane, just like it would be if you were here. So, good afternoon, Diane.
You think they're ready for that?
Okay. So, Diane, what do you do all day long?
Play with toys. Your speaker. I can't. Okay. I'm in charge of the youth services collection, and that means I get to catalog everything and get it out to our libraries that request our items.
So, Diane, you were talking about playing with toys. Um, you had mentioned something yesterday to a librarian that you might need somebody to practice with those toys. What do you have in mind for that project?
Okay, I had a harebrained idea that sometimes we get some toys or games or books or put together a kit and it doesn't go anywhere. I don't know why it doesn't go anywhere because Patty and I think it's really, really cool. So I was thinking about getting 4 or 5 librarians to sign up to be test libraries. And you wouldn't have to fill out any paperwork. You wouldn't have to do anything. It would be just me sending you a box of things, whether it's books, toys that you use for passive programs. Um, what else? Um, the games that we have that you put out, you can use for programming or passive programming. So if you're interested in being one of those lucky librarians, send me an email, dbot@ckls.org. And my bot is spelled with a B-O-T-T. Mallory's is spelled with an A.
Thank you, Miss Diane. So, summer library workshop is over. What are you busy doing right now?
Summer library program was over in January for me. Uh, I am working on next year's summer library stuff. So be looking for some really cool, hopefully really cool stuff and an awesome workshop coming up in, remind me, in February. Yes, the last part of February. So put your calendars for that. That'll be here at CKLS headquarters.
What Diane didn't say is we're doing dinosaurs. So I've waited my whole career because dinosaurs haven't rolled through. It was right before I started. And Diane wants
This is my second time doing dinosaurs, and so I told Patty that that will decide my retirement time. Um, but we'll see what happens. But right now I'm having fun digging through all the dinosaur stuff. Arr, arr, arr.
Too bad I didn't have a joke ready for that moment, Diane, because you kind of fell all over yourself there. So, Diane, you use the CKLS Youth Services Facebook page. And I get a lot of compliments or comments when I'm out visiting libraries about when Diane is going to have another giveaway or play another game.
I was gonna wait for them to get done with their summer library stuff. You guys are so busy. Um, but it might be fun to do something here, I don't know, maybe the first part of August that so you guys can celebrate a little bit. I'll have to put my thinking cap on and figure out what we're going to do and what we're going to give away. But go on to the CKLS Youth and Programming Services Facebook page and play along with us. I don't send it out through an email. It's all up to you to whether you get to play or not. So follow us there. Whoa, my computer just did weird things. Sorry.
You need to mute.
I can't. My screen is gone.
Oh, okay. She can't mute. So don't talk. Okay, so we're going to try to figure out Diane's audio. And um, we mentioned the youth services page. The Central Kansas Library System has its own Facebook page. That is where official information goes out. But I also do throw out some cool newsy library stuff, but also some things just about CKLS. And then Diane, I know she would tell you about it, but apparently audio's not working for her. She does something called a spotlight on the collection, and she's doing fall. She has pulled the books and things, audio, autumn stories, flannel boards, games, puppets, whatever she can find. She's put on that spotlight, and that will be up on the CKLSU services page soon. And then for our school library folks, we do have a CKLS schools page, and I manage that one as well. But I think I've done a good job of liking your libraries, but if for some reason you don't see your stuff appearing, drop me a message or something so I can make sure that your colleagues are seeing what's happening on Facebook, because actually that's where a lot of the great ideas really come from, is from one another. And Diane and I are happy that the materials that we can loan you for library programming is available, but you all take that to the next level and the best level. So it's exciting for us. And Diane always says, if you saw something and you think it would make a great addition to the collection, send her a Amazon link or take a picture of the box or whatever, because recently she's seen things in libraries, and that's where she's focused her collection ordering from. So now we're going to move to a little more thinky of the world. We're going to talk to our consultants. Gail Santee, Liz Duclos, and I serve as your CKLS consultants. So all of us have some sort of a second job here. So consulting is just a part of the work that we do, but I'm going to pick on the newbie first, as she expected. So Liz, tell me about the most challenging consulting question you've received so far, and don't out the library.
I'm not going to out the library. I've already, it's how do I get paid when the board won't pay me? It's, yeah, that's been my most challenging one to date. It's, they couldn't find another person to sign the checks because they had two board members who refused to.
So that sounds like both a board and a librarian problem, because if you're not getting paid, that's a tough spot to be in. So yeah, I agree. Liz and I talked about that problem and tried to solve it. We talked to a board chair and we talked to the librarian, and some things they move slower than you want them to. So Liz, what is your favorite part of the consulting portion of your job?
I really like, I love libraries. I have, like, ever since I was a little girl, I never thought I'd be working in libraries. It never occurred to me. But I love going out and seeing all of you interact with your patrons and things like that. That's one of my favorite parts, is seeing how you guys help your communities and being able to provide you with information so that you can do that better, or I can help you solve that so you can do more. It's very happy. It makes me feel very happy.
So when I got this job, my mom always asked me, so what do you do all day? First, I'm going to ask Gail what her mom said about her. And then, Liz, I want you to think about how you describe what you do to your family.
When I got my master's degree and I showed my mother my diploma, she said, well, it's official now. You are a smarty pants. I've always known it. Now it's official. Is that what you wanted? Yep.
So, Gail, how do you explain to people who have no idea about libraries what you do?
Oh gosh. Of course it's going to depend on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a legislator, it's a lot different than if I'm talking to a child. But I would say that it really boils down to I help libraries be better in their communities. I help librarians work with their communities, and I help, in this role especially, I help librarians and boards work well together.
Miss Liz, how do you describe what you do?
So to my nephew, um, I basically told him he's all of 14 and he's now 6'11" officially. Yeah. And I was describing my job and he's like, "Oh, so you help libraries help their communities and like you work with boards in some way?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty much it." Like if they need help with anything, if they have questions, I do a lot of reference look up stuff for them and then get that information back to them for them to decide what they want to do with that information.
Excellent answer. So I always tell people that um, I I help small libraries be better, but Diane found the magic words a few weeks ago on a trip, and these will be my words. Librarians helping librarians. And, Diane hit it right on the head. Earlier today, I was reading a job description for a consulting firm in Colorado, and I just want to read you the first paragraph. It says, "Imagine jumping in your car one morning and heading down I-70 through a sunny and scenic Kansas landscape. Exiting south on a two-lane highway, an audiobook is playing as you drive, or perhaps some Johnny Cash. You get to choose. 3 hours pass in a blink. You arrive at a rural library and start your day of service as a consultant. Good morning. I'm happy to see your library. I'd love a tour. During your visit with the new library director, the two of you talk about all sorts of library topics: weeding, collection management, understanding reports, and figuring out how to make your mouse work." That's the best description I've ever seen of a library consultant, because our job changes by the minute. We check our email, and what we were going to do isn't what we're going to do right now. The phone rings, we look at the caller ID, and sometimes we go, "Okay, I'm ready." Because whatever's on the phone, you might not know about. So the questions that we give, we provide advice, sometimes answers, but more often than not, we ask a bunch of questions. And so it may not feel like you're actually getting anywhere when you're talking to a consultant, but you're gathering a lot of information. So Liz, when you go out to do new librarian training, do they know everything when you leave and they're completely ready to take over the world?
Absolutely not.
I'm getting
They
ready to
have an
retire.
excellent resource to jump off from. That's what they have. That's what they end up with.
You're not saying jump off a bridge, right?
No,
Just
not
checking.
not unless they want to and they have a qualified certified person with them. But no.
So, what if your first day of training doesn't go as you please? What's your next step?
I get with them again and say, okay, we need to get cover the rest of this. Do you want to do a in-person meeting again? Do you want to do a Zoom or a log me in or something? And we can continue from where we left off. Now, if it completely fell apart and they hate my guts for some reason, I'll come back to the office and say, hey, does someone else want to give it a try because we're not communicating in the best way?
That leads to a pretty common situation around here. Sometimes you have a problem and for some reason you don't connect well with the staff member. At that point, we're going to say, hey, I'm going to pass it around to someone else to try. If the question is, say, about youth services collection, eventually Diane's going to get involved in the conversation, whether she is the one who responds or whether someone responds on her behalf. So, Liz, give us the high points of the topics covered in New Librarian Training Day. As she grabs her trusty notebook.
Okay, so I have a wonderful list, a checklist, if you will, of what I cover. Just making sure it's in here. So I go over some basic questions with you, like, do you have passwords to everything? Do you have access to all like your email and your accounts and the library accounts? Can you purchase things? How much can you purchase? Who has keys to your building? Things like that. But then those are just the base questions. Then we go over what's your preferred method of communication? Do you prefer to talk on the phone? Do you like email? Some of the more important things I will phone you for, but most of everything I will send out will be email. What do you do when the library has to close? Who do you contact? Then we go over how to reach CKLS, what CKLS does for you, their kind of role in all of this. We're not your boss. We're not the board's boss. Your board is your boss, and you answer to them. We come in as kind of a third party, and we can help with different questions that you or your board might have. I also go over CKLS call tree, who to call for what. I go over funding, a little bit of budgets, policy making, of ethics in the librarian field. If you have information that you need, like, do you know where your past board minutes are? Who's running on your board or who's on your board minutes, things like that. Then I give you a calendar of due dates for both your library and for your board. So like what you need to have in and then what your board needs to have in by certain dates. I go through a lot of stuff. So when Patty asked if when I leave, you know everything, no, it takes a year or more to learn all this stuff. I'm giving you a reference book. There's more, there really is. I mean, you got to go over your standards for CKLS and how you can get that money from us. And then, oh my goodness. I also go over your basics of making sure you know how to check in and check out on Koha. You know how to place a hold and send a hold. You also need to know how to add an item, delete an item, things like that. I give you some reports to run. And then I show you like the patron side of things as well. I also then show you the CKLS website and all the resources we have on there, not just in the beautiful notebook I give you. I also go over the grants and how you can look at upcoming things for CKLS. Grant-wise, that's your standards. But I also go over a little bit on the current system plan and outline that compared to last year and where we're at in our 3-year cycle. And yeah, I help clean up your email. I've deleted, I think the most emails I've deleted in one sitting with a new librarian was over 3,000.
I got you. I can beat
Yeah,
that.
oh no, yeah, I'm still new in this. But I get you unsubscribed to a lot of things. I subscribe you as a digest to other things if you're okay with that. Um,
So do
yeah.
you do all the training for CKLS?
Oh, good God, no. No.
So, after Liz's visit, then you'll see Kathy Ron for interlibrary load. You'll see Missy for Ingram. You'll see Diane for youth services collection. You'll see Andy for IT. You'll see Ashley for Pathfinder. You'll see Melissa for cataloging. And you'll talk to Joy about your profile for rotating. But you never stop learning in our jobs, and you as librarians never stop learning. You maybe don't realize the kind of learning that you're doing each day, but that gives a little bit of an overview of what kinds of things consultants can answer questions on. So we do help boards as well. Sometimes that means we go to a board meeting and try to help everybody be on the same page, because sometimes it's a communication issue. We do a lot of presentations and training like this one. Sometimes we do it in person in your library, and sometimes we do it in this format as well. So okay, Gail, you're on the hot seat. Okay. Toughest consulting question.
For me,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna say the toughest consulting question for the librarians that I get, and they want to do a really good job, they want to do this right, is how to let somebody go. Someone has served their time and their expiration date is up, and how do I go through the process? And before we ever get there, we go through the process of remediation, make sure that expectations are known, that deadlines are set. We go through that whole personnel improvement process. And sometimes somebody just doesn't want to be there anymore, and you have to do it. And we walk you through that. We have been the phone call the librarian has made 5 minutes before for a quick pep talk. We have been the shoulder that they have cried on after they've had to let somebody go. It never gets easy, and it never should get easy, because we're talking about humans here. But that's the one I think where I feel like I give a lot of emotional support.
And I anticipated that's what she would say. And I will add, it's one thing for a person who has worked themselves out of a job. It's a worse situation when it might be someone that it's really time to retire. And those seem to be the ones that take the most out of me, even if I'm just the secondary person, because it does take a lot of conversation and massaging with the staff as well, because this person may be a beloved member of their community and been their children's story time lady and their children's story time lady. So, our work isn't as simple as tell me where that law is and how to understand the law. So the job of a consultant never stops learning. You've seen my desk. It's got all kinds of papers on it, and it's got this law written down, and I have an email file that just says trustee essential questions, because when Gail has one of her moments and writes the right words, I save those. So that's a hit. If you're using your email and you see something that hits the right words, some of those might be worth saving. So now we're going to move on. The administrative side of CKLS, and we have, along with Gail, we have two other employees in our business office. Lacey Steffen is the lady that answers the telephone. Lacey's not able to be with us today, but our business manager, Loretta Schrader, is with us. And okay, I see Loretta's unmuted. Okay, so Loretta.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the most important thing that you do for CKLS member library?
I make sure that I make sure that the funds come in to be able to send the grants to the member libraries and the member schools.
Where did the funds come from?
Our counties, all of them.
And they are rural taxpayer dollars.
Yes, they are. They are rural.
So each month, if you look at the executive board packet online or you come to an executive board meeting, there is a section for the financials in the packet. Loretta has worked hard to make that, put it in easy chunks to understand because, you know, we have a healthy budget. What's our kind of base number there in our budget, Loretta? Is it 2.1?
Yes.
2.1 million. So
That's our allowable expenditures, but we don't spend that much.
so
No.
what number are we at about?
I don't know that.
Because I'm working on like 9 years right now, it seems like.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often and when do checks go out or ACH go out to member libraries?
Okay. The first system grants go out in March. The second one goes out in August or October. No, August. And then the schools get theirs in August also.
And each school district, not member school, but each school district receives $500, and they can use that on their computerized catalog system. They can buy materials, books and audios and such with it.
Yes.
Or they could use it for library programming. So it does have limits, and there's a good process in place. So both the librarians know that that money is coming, and their administration knows that it's coming. Because we found in schools, when you've got an administration building in one town and a school building in another town, it takes a while to get that $500 where it needs to go. So with the member libraries, many of them receive their money through automatic deposit, and also with the first check or deposit is the courier subsidy. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the um, the way courier works, if you're a new librarian and you are a public librarian, the courier is subsidized at 89% from CKLS. And then if you are a library with overages, those are also taken care of. But when you pay the courier bill, you pay all of the courier bill to the Northeast Kansas Library System because they're the manager people. And then your subsidy has come to you at 89% of that. So yeah, you're writing a big check, but you're also getting a pretty darn good one back to you. So those are some of the things that help the money move and provide opportunities for your libraries. So I'm going to let Gail take this part of the question. I've heard a lot of words over time about my money, our money. Tell me what you say about those.
It's not my money. The money that we are gifted, and truly it's a blessing to be able to get this money, is from the rural CKLS taxpayers. And we take that funding and then we roll it around and we gift a large portion of it to libraries in the way of services. So like Pathfinder, libraries don't pay for Pathfinder. That 89% courier subsidy. We have vehicles that get our consultants out on the road to visit libraries. The rotating book truck is one of those. It's like a floating world here. We do all kinds of things. I've said twice gift with the money. The money that comes to libraries is earned. The standards libraries have to meet are very reasonable and doable standards for any modern library of any size. And we set that bar high, but it's very realistic and not hard to meet those standards. If your library is struggling in meeting a standard, you need to contact Liz, Patty, or I, and we'll help you get that figured out. but the library must earn the money. And then we're happy. We're happy to be able to provide grants. We do. CKLS also gets some money in state aid, just like your libraries do, only ours is a much bigger percentage that actually is in legislation, the amount that we get. And we generally and historically use that money to pay for salaries, because I also have to fill out an end of the year survey report, and it's much easier to just say we spend it on salaries, 100% of it on salaries.
So the business office takes care of the money that pays all of us, making sure we have the money to do the things that we need to do in order to serve our libraries, but also takes care of the libraries. The other member in our business department, Lacey, is the voice on the phone. She's often the person behind the scenes making things pretty at a workshop. She's the one who answers your questions about registration for events. Hey, I have a new board member and I'm not sure what my next step is. And Lacey's got a checklist of all the things and who to call. When you call CKLS, most of the time it's her voice that you reach first. But if you cannot reach one of us, there is an organizational chart on the CKLS website, and periodically I send that out in email, but it does have our extensions on it. And so if you look at the bottom of our email addresses in our signature line, our number will be there. So don't hesitate to ring that through straight to a person, even if that's the only one you have, because on a good day, I can transfer a phone call, or I ask Diane and she can help me. So, one of the things that I tell new librarians and librarians who've been at this for a while, when they have a problem, but they forget to call us because Liz says, please call CKLS. I have this little trick. So I need you to imagine this is a picture book, and I have it laying flat on the desk, and I have 2 or 3 picture books stacked high. When you get to about 3 picture books high, and you have questions for all of those, whether it's the first one was a question about a trustee. The second question was, how do I register for Tuesdays with CKLS? Or can I come and eat the pizza on Explorer Day? Okay, we've already got 3 questions rolling there. That's the time to call or send the email. So now I need you to imagine this is James Patterson. Okay, so when you get to 3 James Patterson's you got way more than 3 questions. So think about those questions, drop them in an email to yourself, even if you're not ready to ask them, or say, that email can just say, hey, Patty, I need you to call me. I have a few questions I need to talk about. And you can do that with any person here. And if Missy gets the call or Melissa gets the call and it's out of their area, they're going to say, I'm going to pass your question on, and they'll be back to you. So never be afraid to make the call or send the email. Nobody's sitting here going, oh, did you hear the question that Missy asked today? You don't have time for that at your work, and we don't have a time for it at ours.
Much more likely to hear us cheering because we were able to help. And the truth is that if you're not asking us questions, if we're not hearing from you and we're not hearing from our board, that's what we do. You're not bothering us ever. It's what we do. We love it.
Our favorite time is when somebody asks a question about, hey, I have a patron who read this book and they want some other suggestions. And the emails are flying out of faster than you can read them, because we're so excited to do collection readers advisory. So it's very exciting. So I left the best for last. Now Gail is putting on her third hat because she's a consultant. Yep, it's time for this hat. Okay. Now she's ready. She is wearing her tinfoil hat to save her from whatever I'm about to throw at her.
From the crazies.
So
Because we all
Gail,
have those.
our librarians have told me they don't see you as much as they used to.
That's right. Before I became the director, I was a consultant. It was very common for me to be out on the road 3 days a week, and 2 nights a week. But I don't do that anymore. I have a lot of directoring to do. And I also have spent a lot of time training our staff members and my consultants. And the truth is that I've kind of worked myself out of a job because they are so flippin' awesome. They come to me when it's a really big, hairy, audacious problem, and they're stymied. And that's the very best sort of thing. The consultants, it used to be at CKLS that if you were a youth consultant, you only talked about youth. And Liz has worked as a children's librarian, but she wouldn't be able to answer anything about that, even though she may have expertise in a certain area. And what we have done is we have become glorious generalists. We do each have a specialty area by hook or crook. Sometimes it just happens. And sometimes it's something that you're interested in, and so you learn more about it. But we're glorious specialists. Missy is our Ingram manager and the tech services bookkeeper. But Missy handles more books, I think, than anybody else in the system, and she can tell you what's the newest or what are librarians buying now. That's not something I can do anymore. I don't have my hands in that. But boy, I can help you with law and finance or HR problems now. And I didn't know those things when I first became a consultant, but librarians needed me to know it, and so I learned it. And that's what we've done with the consultants now, is that and the staff members, everyone is a trainer, and everybody is an expert in their own field and a glorious generalist in all the others.
So, Gail.
And also, I've been sick. And so that means that I'm really physically not able to spend as much time on the road. I'm much more likely to spend 2 nights calling into different board meetings and consulting over the phone with the board, answering emails of an evening, just all kinds of things like that. Yes, Patty.
So, you say you train boards. What's the difference in your directoring versus member library directoring, and then also in terms of board meetings?
Sure. So you as directors, you may or may not have staff members. I have a couple of handfuls of staff, and they're like herding cats. But the best thing is that I can wind them up and get out of their way. I make sure they've got the tools they need. You, and I'll speak to, yeah, the bulk of you. You work with the public, whether that's youth like Cassandra at Bennington School, or Sherry, who is located next to a senior center. You work directly with the public. We work directly with librarians and trustees. You are our patrons, and we exist to serve you and improve what you're doing in your community. As a director, if you have employees, you may spend some time making sure that those employees get along. As a CKLS consultant, as the director, I help librarians and boards get along. I help libraries and communities get along. I help libraries and city council get along. I have the big stuff, the big stuff.
And so you mentioned that you were sick, and that we've heard that retirement is looming.
You'll notice the Chewy boxes right here. My colleagues bring me Chewy boxes. By the way, my husband said no more boxes. That's okay. He doesn't have. So when we come to Weed Your Library, we say you're going to need more boxes than this. You're going to need more boxes than you can ever imagine. And moving out of a house after 17 years, I think, is a lot like weeding. It's not easy. We need more boxes, that's for sure. So yes, I'm retiring. I've been with CKLS for over 17 years now, and it has been the best work I've ever done outside of raising my own children because I feel like I have raised a whole bunch of librarians and they have gone and they have been awesome here in CKLS territory, or even they've left and they've gone somewhere else and been even awesome. But it's been such a pleasure for me. And I am retiring. We are downsizing. Everything has to fit into 150 square feet. If you know me, one of the stories you may not know about me is that I actually wanted to live on a sailboat when I was a young woman. Now that's funny because I get seasick horribly, but it was the wanderer and sojourner and adventurer part. And so we're actually moving into I'll call it a land yacht. It is an older Airstream, and we are traveling the country. And we are so excited about it.
So after 17 years of consulting and learning about Kansas, because it's the only place she's ever lived any more than a little while, so I'm very proud to call her almost a Kansan. She'll never be a local though. So, what is there anything left on your list that you wished you would have gotten done that is left for us who stay behind to
Yes,
finish?
absolutely. My wish list is huge. I'm like the girl that used to get the Christmas catalog and every page had G next to it. G, G, G. Yeah, I think this happens with every director that there are things that pop up and you don't get to spend time where you'd like to spend it. Um, Especially at my level, at the system level, there are only 7 of us. And we do have the really big problems, but that means we also have the big joys. And what I have waxing philosophically have come to look at are all the successes that we have had at the system. We have made a lot of really positive changes, a lot of necessary changes. Um, I think the very best one is the relationships that we have with our librarians are much more personal, and we have much more than a professional relationship, I would say. We share about ourselves and about our lives, and librarians share the same with us, and we care. If your mother is sick, we care. I was a La Leche League breastfeeding counselor before I came to the system, and I learned that I worked with mothers and infants and children, but what I really did is I worked with the whole family. I couldn't just focus on the mother feeding the baby because there's so much more involved. And a number of years ago, I talked about whole librarianship, and we work with the whole person. One of the very first questions we might ask you is if you have a problem. So a classic example is last year a librarian called and I just sensed something was wrong, and we were talking and she burst into tears on the phone. And so we worked through that, but she was really worried about something that had nothing to do with her job, but it was affecting her job and how she was able to bring herself to the job. And so we talked about that, and we emailed back and forth a number of times, and I helped her work through that. We find that all of you are better librarians if we appreciate that you're human beings, that you have strengths and weaknesses. We do too. That you're going to have days where you hate your job. That's the day you call CKLS and we'll talk you through it. We have each other for that on our end, but our work is so much better because we invest ourselves in you.
So my last question, she already answered, as I knew she would, as we do know that Gail is a master of words, but what is your accomplishment or your legacy? What is the thing that you can point to and say, I changed this, I made this, I did this?
Boy, howdy. Our libraries have better policies. That's one thing for sure. There, my staff teases me that I love policies, and the truth is I don't. I really don't, but they're very necessary. They keep staff safe. They keep patrons safe. That's why I like policies. I don't love them, that's for sure. I don't know, Patty, because it's like a moving target. It's going to change from day to day. I think that one of the things that we've done is we have saved our taxpayers an incredible amount of money. We've made our organization very lean. Each person does many different things, and is encouraged to do many different things. That's important. That the taxpayers would say that's important, that we spend our money well, or we don't spend it, more importantly. Um, I love the way that we train librarians. You all might not know this, but the other systems have by and large modeled their new librarian training after the way we do it. Um, I think for me, empowering staff, I think that's one of the biggest things that is personal to me. I have fought fiercely for them. I have elevated their positions and their salaries. Um, and they have never let me down. It's amazing. It is amazing. They do things that you can't even begin to fathom, just to help libraries and librarians be better. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Gail. So,
I
so
would love to hear from a couple of librarians what they think it is. And maybe you were going there, and we probably don't have time.
does anybody want to speak up? That's actually a nice opportunity. See, I stymied them with the question as well.
They need time to think.
Yes.
Patty
But
and I have presented many years, and we've played this game where in the middle of a presentation, out of the blue, she'll throw me a monkey wrench and say, well, Gail, let's play a game. And she asks me something that's totally not on presentation. And so I'm more used to Patty's ways.
and so actually that was what I was going to end with. Um, so, Gail is not a let's have a party and celebrate somebody kind of person. That's not Gail. She's not a she's not a send me a card or send me a gift card, or that's not Gail. So this is something that I may not have a chance to say in another forum, but I will say it here. I've watched Gail as the consultant in training, the middle manager, the puppy dog following her around, and I've watched the impact that CKLS, not just Gail, has made on thousands and thousands of people that are not living in this territory. And last year, Gail had a really rough flight to Utah. She had enough energy to do the presentation. I took her to lunch, and then we put her back in the hotel, and I said, you sleep now. I'm going to go off and learn something. And I got to a couple of sessions, and I walked in the exhibit hall, and there were two young women, first year librarians that worked together in a small rural library. I think it was Wyoming. And they came up to me and they said, where's your friend? Because she couldn't remember her name. I said, Gail's at home taking a nap. She's had kind of a rough day. And they said, well, would you adopt us? And that was the first time I heard that. But what that tells me is if CKLS has touched your library, an nth of what some of these people have said to us at conference, Gail can retire knowing she's done a really good job.
Yeah, I can. All I have to do is look at the way your libraries were when I first got here and where you are now, and it's amazing. I read something today. It's a history about regional library systems, and they were talking about substandard libraries, and it was systems jobs to bring those up. And while I would say that none of us were substandard, I would say that a lot of us had an opportunity for growth. And I look at where your libraries are now, where you've come. I've always said that the most important thing I do is cheerlead, and I give you money and get out of your way and give you ideas, and you all run with it. And when I look at our libraries now, when I go out and I do presentations, the examples are from your libraries, and everybody else is jealous of what you have, that you have a CKLS, that you have this amazing staff and these phenomenal resources. And I would encourage you as a library director, my parting words is to really take advantage of that. Borrow those things from the collection, call those consultants, call them if you've had a good day, call them if you've had a bad day, call them if you have questions. That's going to be your best use of those CKLS tax dollars for sure. We are here to help.
So this presentation and part one that included tech services, cataloging, Ingram, talking books, interlibrary loan, Pathfinder Central, and IT. Both of these will be on our YouTube page, but behind the scenes, Andy, IT, Ashley, Pathfinder, and Liz, consultant, are have the framework for a new webpage. But with a new director coming on, we kind of held back. And the four of us have very different opinions about what our website should look like. So the new person gets to break the tie. So this will be used as a little bit of a promo. So we'll have the chapter titles put in there. So then you can find what's next and go and listen to that portion of what we do. And if ever you have a question from a rural taxpayer or one of your own patrons, guide them to our page. They can learn who CKLS is and what we do. We welcome their questions. So we want to thank you for taking your time with us today and letting us put Gail a little bit in the hot seat. Thank you for saying so. Amy says that it's a safe place to ask and discuss things. And so we're pleased to be able to provide that for you. So we want to thank you for spending time with us. Next week is trustee training, 3 nights of trustee training, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The 29th is an Explorer Day meeting in Smith Center. And we have a library director meeting online next month. We have another Explorers meeting. And you'll be looking in your e-box soon for information about the full system board meeting. And that date is Wednesday, August 27th in Russell at the Dole Spectre Conference Center at the Fossil Creek Hotel. So be looking for that information. Staff will stay on for just a few minutes to see if there's anything that you would like to talk to, perhaps personally or quietly. Thank you so much. Ashley, you may end the recording.